Welcome to Money Talks. Today is a little bit of a special day because it's only me here in the studio. My business partner had a family emergency this morning and he said, "Well, just go to the studio anyways." I was like, just me here? Yeah, tell your story. It's interesting. And to be honest, I was a bit hesitant and I told him, "Really? People want to hear that?" "Yes, they want," he said. So I'm like, "Okay, let's go here and I'll just shoot the shit with you directly." And what I want this to be is absolutely raw, honest, and I want it to be hopefully inspiring to a couple of you out there because my life has not been easy. So some people now they look at me and think I'm lucky and they think, "Oh, he just got it all." But from where I went, poverty, homelessness, not happy, not knowing what to do, no direction, to being in a place with absolute freedom and millions of dollars and also fulfilled and happy is quite the accomplishment when I look back at where I started. So, if this can help somebody, I am all for it, but I'm not going to narrate it. I'm not going to tell you the best parts only. There is a lot that went into where I am right now. And that's basically it because I thought, should I prepare myself for this? And I have prepared probably 10 minutes. So it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be, the best story ever, but it's going to be fucking real. That I promise you. And for those of you out there who are struggling right now, you're just starting a business or you're making $1 million a year, like for you guys, the entrepreneurs out there, like hopefully you can find bits of pieces to keep you going because there are plenty of times where I didn't have anyone, I was alone, and I wish somebody understood me. And this is me basically telling you I've been there and you can do it too. So, with that said, let's begin. So, the first 7 years of my life, I'm born in Denmark. And the first 7 years of my life was pretty normal, I would say. I would say even the first 10 years of my life. It was a happy childhood. My parents were together. My father was making decent money. My mother was at home. So everything was all right. And we even had like 2 years where we're traveling the world. And I would say to anyone out there who is thinking about having children, that was one of the most impactful things in my life, being taken out of school, being homeschooled, and literally seeing, I think, 30 countries. We're driving around in a auto camper, and it was one of the most happy times in my life. Anyways, my parents got divorced around when I was, I think, 10 or 11. And that's where things kind of like went downhill, I would say, for at least 6, 7 years. Because now there was really instability. My father didn't have any money all of a sudden. They had to sell their house. They went into serious debt. Like the dispute between my mother and father was real to the point where my father, and I have a good relationship with him today. We are friends, absolutely. He comes and visits me many times a year, but literally had to kidnap me from my mother and her family because he wanted shared custody and the family wouldn't allow that. And there was a lot of issues there. But that's really where my mental health in many ways were really unstable because now you don't have money. I mean, there was even like 2 months where we were literally homeless. My father and my two brothers and me. And we had to seek shelter for a couple of months. And then luckily, I'm born in Denmark. So I'm very, 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 very fortunate to be born in Denmark because, the government stepped in and helped to a certain extent. But it's not luxury at all. Then I started going to school. This was basically fourth grade. And I remember being poor, like because a lot of the friends I had and the people that I was in class with, they had the nice shoes, they had the nice jackets. I had nothing. So I had holes in my jeans. I had very ugly shoes. I'm very embarrassed. I was not a person with confidence whatsoever. And that probably later in life manifested in some kind of like wanting to seek validation from other people and being approved. But I remember when I was 12 years old, we went into our first apartment after being homeless, and there was literally no furniture. We slept on the floor. It was a two-bedroom apartment. My father lived in the living room. I was so lucky I got my own room because I'm the eldest, and then my two brothers shared a room. But like, so to many, they say, oh, that's not a struggle. But to me, it was really like a change because I went from having a good life, can afford having nice food and stuff like this. And now all of a sudden, like, sometimes we don't eat breakfast. I mean, most of the times we did, right? But like not having the things that the other kids had. And this was probably the biggest thing. My father's mental health as well. He was battling in courts. He was working two or three jobs all the time. And he was really emotionally drained. And I've learned that later in life. And I've had him tell his side of the story. And we really bonded on that. So I really, I understand that he tried to do his best, but at that time there was no love. So for 4 or 5 years, there was, the best times when it was when I saw my mother occasionally, which then later happened. But it was very strict, not happy. There was no joy. Like I remember, from 10 to 15 with my father living there, I can maybe count like, on one hand, the times I felt joy. So when I hear stories of people who went through much worse situations, like literally real homelessness, or they were in war zones, like you really emphasize with that. That was not my situation at all, but I think mentally I was in the same state because I was always scared of my dad. There was always this subtle sense of violence in the air because my father's a very aggressive man, and there was a couple of instances, but nothing seriously. To this day, he swears he never hit me, but there has been a couple of times with a belt. But it was just that fear from him, because he was just a very, very scary man at that time for me as a kid and my brothers as well. So the strictness, the no joy, and all that stuff, and then later in life, my father didn't really paid any attention to us. It made me drift in the wrong crowds. So all of a sudden, I found myself with the wrong crowd, and later in life, I found out some of those people went to jail for many years, or worse things happened to them. But starting stealing a little bit here and there, petty crimes, drugs. I was selling drugs, stuff like that. And I think that was my first entrepreneurial venture was when I was 15 in my school. Everybody needed weed, then it was ecstasy and maybe a little cocaine and stuff like that. So luckily, I never went all in on that because I knew somebody, an acquaintance who I knew well, who really, he was taken away for a few years, and that put a stop to that part. Went to school, high school, still doing the drugs thing a little bit. I'm not really in school. I think I went to school like 1/3 of the time, literally. So on the second year, they kicked me out. So I didn't graduate high school. In school, I was naturally gifted with language, with math, luckily. And, I got decent grades, I would say. And I was perceived as smart. I perceived myself as smart. But I wouldn't say I had an extremely high IQ or anything. Back then, when I took a test, I guess it was 110 or something. So this was when I was 15, 16. But I I just knew that school, it didn't feel right for me. That's why I got kicked out, right? In second grade of high school. Then what happened was when I was 17, I started an entrepreneurial venture with a business partner of mine, which was in personal development. And in I would say, way too young age, I started selling personal development courses and developing them. And this was $1,000 for these weekend seminars. And at that time, I was making maybe $10,000 a month. And remember, I'm 37 as of this recording, so this is 20 years ago. $10,000 a month as a 17-year-old, 18-year-old, it was and is still a lot of money. So I got that experience that action, if you take it in the right direction, equals success. So all of a sudden, I got cocky. Told my father, why do I need to go to university? He wanted me to go that direction. I was looking down on it. And we still didn't have a relationship, still didn't connect. He still didn't understand me. I didn't have any support. And that's one of the things that me now wanting to be a father, that's one of the things that I'm going to make sure of is like my kids, they get what I didn't have, whatever directions they want to go in. Because I know what kind of damage it can do to somebody if they don't get the support. You don't really have anyone to talk with. I didn't have any friends who could support me. I didn't have any father who could support me. I didn't have anyone who supported my journey. So you find that connection and support in the people you meet and you try to become friends with. And if you're lucky, you meet the right people and they shape you. And if you're not lucky, you find the wrong people and they shape you too. I didn't find too many wrong people, but I didn't find the right people. But like definitely everybody I met on my journey pushed me in the right direction, I would say, because I learned something from it. And I also want to say that me as a person, when I look back when I was 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, I mean, I would say up until like literally I don't know, 27, 30. Like me as a person, I was not a good friend. I was not a good brother. I was not a good son. And a lot of people will say, well, I will treat people how they treat me. And there's some truth to that. But as a ground pillar, you should know, at least that is what I believe in, how you want to show up in life for other people. I think that's the most important thing. And that's one of the things that I value the most now is loyalty, is being there for my friends. Don't have many of them, but for those you have, you need to be there for them. And then you get that support back. That's what I learned because nobody gave it to me. If you're somebody who's lucky where you have a mentor, you have somebody, this is a gift. It's truly a gift in life. And some people take advantage of it, and some people don't, and that's gonna be up to you. And I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm gonna be your mentor, but if you connect with what I say and you think that you can get value, there would be an honor for me to be able to steer you in the right direction, hopefully. Anyways, so I am at this stage of my life, let's say 18, 19 years old, and I am trying to figure life out. I'm making a lot of money. All of a sudden, I'm traveling to countries by myself, like, 2 times a month, maybe sometimes every weekend. I am in Paris, I'm in Rome, I'm in Switzerland, I am in Portugal, I'm in like Argentina, I'm going to the US. Like, I'm going all these places. I'm living life. And I'm like, why the fuck should I go to university? Like, I'm making more than my father ever did, probably at this stage, have some really good months as well. Then when I was 19, a big shift changed in me because I was very much into reading. Like I've been a very big reader. And now knowledge to me, when it's, knowledge is very important if you want to do specialized things, but I'm not a big reader anymore just because it's not to be arrogant. It's just like if I want to learn a specific thing, I'm going to read about that. But I'm not religious about reading or anything like that. I like learning. But I was religious about reading. Like I wanted to devour books. Back then it was, MP3s. You have them, these personal development programs. I think at this time, like if I condense it all down, it would be like 1,000 books that I've consumed from when I was 17 until 30, I would say 27, about everything, but mostly business, mostly personal development, mostly how to better yourself. It could be even relationships, all these things. Like I wanted to improve myself all the time. Health. I wanted to understand why I didn't feel good. I wanted to understand my brain. I wanted to understand my emotions. I wanted to understand because a lot of times I felt something was wrong with me. And I wanted to understand that. So, when I said 19, right? Like I went to this seminar, still in the personal development space. But here's one of the biggest learning points I made at that stage was I went from selling these $1,000 programs and I had this mentor through my MP3s listen to, I think the guy was called Ron LeGrand. And there was a few other people. And I was in these underground forums downloading all this pirate shit. I think it was Pirate Bay back then or something like that. I can't remember. Napster or something like that. And I got these programs that were worth thousands of dollars. And I listened to them and I wrote notes like crazy. Wow, now you can sell programs for $20,000. They're telling me, and they're doing it on stage. And I was like, I'm just going to do it. And that's one thing I had going for me was that I seeked answers. So I just went for shit. A lot of times I went for stuff that was not right, but I went for stuff. And then I went this way, and then boom, you knock your head into a door, and then you find out, okay, maybe that's not the way. And then you go back and you try this, boom, you knock your head, and oh, it's not the way. And you do that a couple of times, but all of a sudden, boom, and you explode with success all of a sudden. That's what happened when I was 19, that I found this $20,000 formula, so to speak. Now you hear people talk about $100 million offers. You talk about like creating the best product. Like back then, that was just like, that's what I learned from Ron Grant and all those people. So I made an offer. It was an audience of 200 people, and I had 10 people, something like that, sign up to a $20,000 program, basically 4 months. And I got this 9 bedroom luxury apartment in the middle of Copenhagen, like at 20 years old, because, it was in between 19 and 20 years old. And I put people into a program just like that. They had a room, and I got teachers there, and I created my first school, my first academy, personal development. And like, imagine this, like you have clients who are 27, 28, and they look up to you. You're 19 years old. You think you're on top of the world. Like, I got NFL players coming in and doing seminars. I got business owners. I got experts in relationship and health, all this kind of stuff. And I felt like on top of the world. I had my girlfriend at the time. So things were good. I had money. Life was good. The only thing I'd gone in my life was basically just, I wanted to be successful. I wanted to be Mr. Success. That's it. I had my suit and like focused, and like my only downtime with my girlfriend. But here's the thing. I didn't know what I was doing. All of a sudden, like there was a person who had a bad experience, and I wouldn't say that the program was bad at all. It was decent, but it was not at the level I wanted to be. And I had one customer complain, and then my ego was like, oh, fuck it, you're all getting your money back. Like, that was the first mistake. And then all of a sudden I owed these people money and stuff like that. But I did it again and again, and it became better. But at the time, my girlfriend broke up with me, and that kind of crushed me for a little bit of time, and things went downhill from there, I would say. She then later wanted to get back to me. They all do. But, at that time, like, it was just such a crushing feeling when it happened that I just went in another direction. I wanted to do other things all of a sudden. And I dabbled in a lot of things. Like I was doing music. We actually did quite well. I signed a band, and they had the #1 hit in Denmark at the time. And like literally on the dance charts, played everywhere. So that was a cool feeling. I had the opportunity to, also get into the club scene. I did events. I did an event with The Weeknd, people like Akon, stuff like that, which was pretty cool. I got my own bar, got percentages in a club. I was supposed to be in the third one as well. But like, this event, which was back then Super Mache. So we had 50. Yeah, I chartered a private plane. I had like some celebrities on it from Denmark. We went to Ibiza. The whole thing was like, it was 5 stars. Spent a lot of money on it. Like I sold 10% of my company for like $200,000, like 3 months in. So I knew how to take action. I knew how to get people invested in stuff. But the end product, I was partnering up with somebody who was 15 years older than me, who said that he understood how to create a festival, who said, like he understood, like he would take care of the artist and stuff like that. I would take care of the money, the promotion, and I did everything well. But I trusted the wrong person here. And I got literally screwed over. And now all of a sudden people are angry at me because we were supposed to have a pre-event in Ibiza with 10, 15,000 people in Privilege, the biggest nightclub. I think they can have 10,000 people, but like, turnover, I think throughout the night is 15,000. Something like that. I could be wrong with the numbers, but around there. And then we're supposed to do something in Copenhagen with 30,000 people. And that just went to shit completely. And now people were angry. I had gangs coming up to me, like literally 3 or 4 of the biggest gangs back then. And I had to meet with all of them, explain to them what's going on. And that was a tough period of my time. Luckily, everything got sorted, and I was just like, I need a fresh start. But this was a period of my life where I just had to, like, understand that there are consequences to the things you do and to the people you partner up with. because I literally went to the guy 1 month or 6 weeks before I could see things going to shit. I had this bad feeling. I was like, listen, I don't want to do this. And he said, listen, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the whole responsibility. You just sit on the sidelines. That's literally what he told me. So I sat on the sidelines. We had a lawyer as well there. But in the end, when shit hit the fan, like nobody stepped up to the plate. And that's one of the things that I've learned in life then later, because, all the time when I watched movies or even a series, I remember this series, I can't remember, is this like in the Viking times, there's this guy and he's just the best friend to everyone. Like he's the one who would sacrifice himself for everyone. Like if he is captured by the enemy, he is going to release the other person before releasing himself. That kind of loyalty. And that was very attractive to me, I think, because I never had anything close to that. Because when you get screwed over, and many times in life I got screwed over, literally screwed over, because people felt a certain way, or because people, just didn't do their part. So I just promised myself gradually in life, like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that. And I think that's why, I'm also very selective with who I call a friend, because my expectations to a friend is sky high. But also what you can expect of me as a friend is that I am there for you no matter what. I'm not somebody who crumbles. Like you can do anything fucking wrong, I am there for you. Like literally. Like, almost literally anything that exists on this planet you can do. But if you're my friend, I got your fucking back. Period. So that's something I value in business as well. And that's something that I hope that you will find in your life. You don't need hundreds of friends. When I was in the nightclub scene, parties, you get girls so easily. You get guys want to be your friend, like you're the man. But all that doesn't mean shit. None of them would be there for you. None of them would cry at your funeral. Maybe they would like cheer because they had a good time with you. And that's cool. You can have that as well. I'm not saying not to have that. I'm not bitter. I'm just saying to have a small, selective group that you can count on with your life will make you succeed in business better, period. Because if you're in the trenches with, let's say, 2 or 3 people, all of a sudden you can literally take over a country with that in a business sense. I really, truly believe that. Even 2 people, if you are just rock solid, the 2 of you, money also becomes not an issue because, millions of dollars can be in your friend's account or in your account, and there's never that. You know that the other person would never take a penny from you, but you cannot attract that kind of person unless you are that kind of person. So I think that's very important learning point that I did back then. Anyways, after the failed event with, we were supposed to have, I think it was Akon and Chris Brown, and I literally wired, well, my business partner at that time wired $100,000 to Akon, never got the money back. He never showed up. It was just like, that was a failure. Okay, now I decided to go to Dubai. So my girlfriend, another girlfriend at that time, she literally borrowed me $2,000. She got the money back, but she was a sweetheart and she borrowed me the money. I said to her, listen, I can't be with you. Like, I don't want to have kids right now. This is not where I'm at. And that's where what she was at. Like, to me, I'm like, what am I at this stage? I could get the years a little wrong, but I think I was 25, 26. And that was not on my mind. What was on my mind was I want to be successful. I want to fucking make it. Like, I was hungry. When I say I was hungry, I was fucking hungry. I was trying to read every book out there. And then one person says this morning routine. And I was trying everything out like a lunatic. Like I see a lot of people do these days as well, because you want to find answers. What works for you? Like, okay, I'm trying to like only sleep 4 or 5 hours a day because I want more time, even though my body probably needed at least 7 hours, 6 hours. And just spending every single moment trying to better myself. Now I'm in Dubai. I have $2,000 to my name, a little less now because I spend money on a ticket. Luckily, I have a good passport. I go to Dubai. I think I have 30 days before I need to visa renew. I check in on a hostel. I live with 9 people in that hostel, mostly Indians. There was a couple of Ukrainians too. Nice people. I actually met a couple of nice people there. I lived in the bad side of Dubai. So the beautiful side of Dubai that you see on social media, that's one thing. When you go to the old town, there's a lot of very poor Filipinos, Indians, and people from all around the world, actually. And it's actually horrible, some things that I've seen down there, because they would take your passport if you're, let's say, a Filipino or an Indian, and then you would be in this work camp, literally. And I'm sure that's not the law, but there is just, I've heard about so many examples of that, and this is reality. Your reality. I don't know if it is anymore. Back then, for thousands of people, literally, you get taking your passport, you can't travel anywhere, and then you get such a little salary just to take care of your. I don't know, like, how much they're getting, but like, the stories I heard were horrible. So I was not in that situation. Luckily, I had my freedom, but I needed to make shit happen. Luckily, I had connected with one Danish guy on social media, and he was a DJ. So I went to him and asked for a job, and he was very, very instrumental for me to thrive, kind of, in Dubai, because he gave me an opportunity to earn money. And he was making these events 2 or 3 times a week at something called the Penthouse in Dubai back then. And basically, I was standing in the door as a doorman. And what I would do is I would literally take every girl's number who came. Like, literally go for every girl's number, and it would probably be 100%, because it would be about, like, if you want to get, like, that's literally what I did. And I built this database, and I think after 2 months, I had a database of a couple of thousand people, and I was earning. I don't know what I was earning back then. You get them in dirhams, but it would be maybe $100 per night. Would that be right? $50 per night. 50 to $100. I can't really remember. Um, but Dubai is very expensive. Dubai is very, 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 very expensive. Back then, for me to just be in a one bedroom, not even a one bedroom, but one studio apartment, I think, in the bad side of Dubai, $1,500 a month. That's a lot of money, for a 30 square meter thing. And now it's probably much more expensive. So I didn't live there. I still live with the 9 Indian people. But, like, gradually, a friend of a friend bought me an apartment, and I live there. And then all of a sudden, I live with other people, and we lived in a nicer place. So now I could afford things. I didn't live day to day, but there were times where I literally only had, let's say, $10 to my name. I remember one time, there's a great learning point here, for me at least. I walked down the street, and I was thinking about how bad my situation was, because I had no money. I didn't know how to eat next day, literally, because I think there was some issues with work, or something like that, or at least it would, go a couple of weeks before I had something from that friend who would help me. Um, and at that time, I lived with a nice Filipino family, uh, Princess, the 8-year-old, and her mother and the grandmother, and I got a room there. Again, in the not nice part of Dubai. They were actually very, very sweet. And emotionally, it was a very nice time for me, even though it was hard, because for the first time in my life, I was focused on people. I really said, you know what? I don't want to screw anybody over, because I've been screwed over so many times. I don't want to be harsh to people. It's not that I had screwed anybody over. I just decided I want to be a good person. Because, even when I did the Supermarché thing, and I sold that event company, 10% for a couple $100,000, and we were supposed to do Chris Brown and Akon and all that stuff. Then, like, one of the complaints I got from people is they hated working with me, the employees. They fucking hated it. And, like, they literally would fight me. And I was just like, I don't know, maybe I was a bit autistic in the way I was, or something. But I was not a great manager. I was not a great leader in any way, shape, or form. So I just decided I wanted to try to be that. So people was my first priority. And I remember, Tony Robbins telling me in Personal Power 2 in a program, giving is living. So I thought to myself, okay, I got to give to the universe. And I just saw this Indian guy walking down the street, and I saw that he was definitely in a worse position than me. There was no doubt about it. Completely holes everywhere in his clothes, like, looked like a homeless person, but there's not really homeless people in Dubai. So, at least not what I saw. So he was selling something. And I said, you know what, brother, here, take my last money. I didn't say my last money. I just gave him my last money. I smiled, and I just did that with the feeling of the universe is going to provide, which was really a change in how I viewed the world. And from there on, I think, like, I had a challenge to myself. I would just do good deeds every day. or just do good deeds for people randomly. Just try to be good to people. And that made a real change in my leadership and how I viewed the world. The next day, I asked some family members, not close family members, if they could borrow me some money, and they actually did that, and I was so grateful for that. I got, I think, $1,000 also from a friend that I borrowed some money on, and the rest is history. But basically, that year in Dubai, I was it was very humiliating, or not humiliating. It was a very humble experience being on your own somewhere, not knowing anyone, and then building a little community there. I did a party after 2 months, 3 months, I think, where we had like it was the biggest party in Dubai at that time, and it was in a shitty place called the Story. Shout out to the Story, not shitty, but compared to being like, it was not high class at all. But we got everybody to go there. It was so big that all the big clubs back then, they called Story and said, "Who is making the party? Who's making the party?" And then I got headhunted by one of the biggest clubs back then. Was it Provocateur? It was called. This is in 2014, so it's probably not at all relevant, but it was super relevant there. This is where all the billionaires go, the sheikhs, all the hot girls, the models. They have model houses, stuff like that. So now I'm in that scene, and now I'm doing events again, right? And then after a year, I thought, you know what? Like, I have a little bit of money. Things were not going exactly how I planned them, but I want to do something new. So when my brother called me and said, "Hey, I have an opportunity for you," I was like, "Okay, let's do this." So, not to make this story too long, because I want to make it relevant to you, but I just want you to understand where I was coming from. Now I am working with my brother, trying to help him. It didn't really work out in the beginning, but then we did it a second time. I'm trying to remember the sequence here. Well, we did something. It worked out. I kind of got some money. I got into, at that time, some serious money for myself, and I said, you know what? I have just worked hard for the last few years. Nothing is happening, and I just kind of like, maybe success is not for me. I just want to have fun because I didn't enjoy my life. I would say from when I was 19 till probably 27. I never focused on enjoying life. That was not a priority. Like, enjoying life was not a priority. People go to parties and drink. Like, even when I had my bar and I was in the party scenes, imagine when I was doing the event with The Weeknd, I didn't give a fuck. I didn't even care about, like, I just wanted my name on the flyer, so the people knew I was doing the event with The Weeknd, the singer, and that I could do other stuff. Like, I didn't care about that. I didn't care about the performance. I didn't care seeing him. Like, none of that matters. So imagine when most people in that scene, they like to party, they like to have fun. When I had my own place, I didn't care about that at all. I didn't drink. I didn't do any of that. I just wanted to try to have success. That's it. So at 27, I was like, you know what? I met Tony Robbins' son. Tony Robbins, if you know who he is, he's like the godfather of who created coaching. And I met him and I did coaching with him. And I invested in coaching. And one of the things he told me to read a book. I can't remember. We should probably find out what the actual book is, but it's like something about knighthood, princehood, and being a king. And it's kind of the stages a man go through. So when you're young as a man, most men has tendencies of seeing themselves as a king, but they're never really a king. They're just a knight with a lot of energy wanting to conquer the world. And that was me for sure. And then when you get a little older, you start building, and then you go from knighthood when you actually achieve some kind of success, and you're building your way of life and the values you have in your life, and then you become the prince. And then when things are settled and you truly have the life that you dreamt of and you created it, that's where you go into, being a king. That's basically what the book outlines. But in the book, they talked about the knighthood and the stages of having fun and adventure. And I was like, yeah, I had adventure by doing things, but I was so rigid and so disciplined and so focused and so all this, but it didn't turn out the way I wanted. So I never enjoyed the fun. I never had the fun. I never had the adventure. So I said, you know what? I want to live out my knighthood now, even though I'm 27, and I'm like, fuck building anything. Let me have fun. And I went on a fucking rampage. Because now I had some money. When I say on a rampage, I would wake up and with the same devotion of building something successful that I've tried for years and discipline, I was now focused on having fun. And my goal was literally when I wake up, the whiteboard, I didn't have a whiteboard, but the whiteboard would say in my mind, how do I have the most fun today? And then let's just do that with people, with girls. And it would be cool, Like I had a couple of years, and people who say they get bored after a couple of months. I didn't get bored. I just wanted more, and it was fun. And that was really one of the, to be honest, happiest moments in my life because I was with people. But at one point, it get a little empty, especially because I didn't have money to sustain the lifestyle. So I tried all these small ventures, and people paid me during this time because, like, I'm in the nightclub scene, and I understand that. But I had fun. But then when I was 30, I got betrayed by a person, and again, it was a money issue, and it was a money issue. And I was just like, okay, you know what? Back home. And this was a very low point in my life because at 30 years old, I was nothing. I had nothing to my name. I had a good mood, but I was nothing. And my brother, he bought a ticket to me so I could get home. And I stayed with my father as a 30-year-old. And I remember reading a book by Simon Powell, is that his name? The inventor, I believe, of is it X Factor or Idols? I can't remember. One of these music programs. The music producer. I think he also created Westlife and stuff like that. And he in his biography he said he also was at home with his parents when he was 30. So that at least gave me some kind of like hope that there are people out there who've been in similar situation. But in all metrics in life, I was a loser. And I felt I had so much. And there was literally a time where I was so depressed I couldn't get up out of bed. It was not long, but it was a couple of days. Like it was the worst fucking feeling. And one of my friends that I've known for a few years earlier, he had started a company. It was a call center. He invited me, and this is my first real job besides being, because like since I was 16, I've had like 2 jobs, I think, like literally work. That was the doorman, which lasted for 2 months, a couple of times a week, getting 50 to $100 per night. And then there was this job in a call center, and I lasted, I think, 5 days. 3 days, I think. I couldn't make it work. I was not motivated. Like I could not see myself fucking going in to a job at 9 a.m. in a fucking office and then just dialing to fucking 100 people every day selling I would rather shoot myself in the head. That's how I felt. I was like, if I have to do the rest of like, what's the point of living? That's how I felt. And I'm not mocking people who do that and like that because I know people. I literally know one person. He's a great person who likes doing that. Like he likes going to the office and talking with people. Like he's done it for 7 years, 10 years, something like that. But for me, I just couldn't do it. And I don't know what it is, if it's like a mindset thing, if it's upbringing, if it's DNA. I don't know what it is, but I just couldn't do it. So I would rather be broke and try something. So to be honest, I hustled my government for $4,000 or $5,000 because they had these programs. And I took that money and I said, okay, I want to start a business. It's expensive to live in Denmark. So I told my brother, listen, this is what we're going to do. I don't know what you're going to do because we are like going back and forth and we were also fighting a little bit. And I love my brother to death. But like at this point, like, I'm just struggling, and I was not a good big brother. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't have my life together. So instead of following my little brother, I had to just say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to Thailand. And if you want to work with me, we can do that. And he actually followed me, and he did that. And we started something very successful together. We built the largest calisthenics community in the world with a guy called Dominic Sky. Shout out to Dominic Sky. And I went to Thailand because I've been to Thailand before. I love Thailand. I've done Muay Thai in Thailand. It was just like, and now this is my home because I've been here on and off for almost 10 years. And, I have homes here. And it's just like it's just a lovely place. But the reason why I went there was, how can I make my money last while building? Because in Thailand, you can literally live for, I think, $300 in the worst case scenario, get a studio, and then you maybe you need like $500 more, and then you can eat. I mean, you can live for less than that. But for $1,000, $700, something like that, you can live a good life. And it's under the sun. It's not depressing back home. And I can build from my laptop. So that's why I went there. And Dominic Sky came and we got Dominic Sky to fly in. Back then, he was making like $1,500 a month. Me, no, my brother and Dominic Sky had built a little business and it was making $1,500 a month. And I said, guys, listen, because I had a lot of experience doing high ticket stuff. So in this whole period from when I was 17 to 27, I have a lot of experience with high ticket stuff, getting investors. There are a lot of projects and businesses I haven't explained here just because I can't remember them. Probably they didn't fit into the story. But like I knew how to sell high ticket. Remember when I was 19, I sold the $20,000 thing. That's where it went into my mind. Like, boom, if you sell high ticket in the right way, you can get $20,000 from one client. One client, $20,000. People are struggling, working very hard to be a lawyer and making 7 grand, 10 grand, 12 grand, 15 grand. I mean, I know you can make millions on it, but a lot of people are working so hard to make that, and I can make that in one sale when I was 19. So there was times in my life where I went back to that a couple of times. But with Dominic Sky, I was like, listen, guys, I know exactly what we need to do. Calisthenics is like a form of fitness. So that's what he's doing. It's like a movement fitness. It's like strength and mobility and all this stuff. And he was an expert at that, like a legitimate hero, superhero at that, like doing backflips from like, unbelievable heights to the ground, broke like, I think 4 world records and different kind of things. But he was making $1,500 a month, like living in Slovenia. My brother had helped him build that business to $1,500 a month. And I said, guys, we are going to sell. I set them down. My brother and Dominic Sky. And I was convinced we are going to sell $12,000 programs. And at that time, my brother just believed in me and trusted me and gave me the opportunity to do this. I was very grateful to him because now I could shine with it. And Dominic Sky looked at me. He'd never seen more than $2,000 in his life. And I remember we spent, I can't remember the exact thing. Was it a month or 6 weeks or something like that to launch this? Luckily he had a YouTube channel. He had some followers and stuff like that. But I remember the first person I spoke with, he was an Israeli, and a guy from Israel. I spoke with him and I was in Thailand. And I spoke with him. I used the things that I've learned from, the last 10 years. And boom, after an hour, $12,000. Yes. It's like, this is how you do it, guys. I told them. And then we just made sure to fill up their schedule. I literally sold so many programs that they had to say, literally, we cannot sell anymore. Let's deliver to these people. That's what my brother said. Now, me and my brother had a falling out because my work ethic was still, I want to have fun, but work is on the part-time. And I was not as committed as he was. So that looking back, and I love my brother, but the leadership, he could have utilized me in a different way, and we could have built something truly, 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 truly successful together. But it became successful. It became the largest calisthenics community in the world. And I just said to my other brother was also in Thailand looking for guidance from me. And I said, bro, do you want to start a company together? And I work with him to this day, by the way. So this was in 2019. And we went to Bali, and I said to him, I sat him down. I said, listen, bro, I have all this experience doing business. I have failed a lot. I don't want to tell you that I have the answers, but I have some experience. If you want to follow me, that's great, and we can do this. We have this money. Let's share it. This is our money. We're going to give it. I think we had enough money to live 60 days. We made a blueprint. We're going to do our absolute best. If it succeeds, great. If it doesn't succeed, we go home to Denmark. But then we don't want to look ourselves in the mirror and say, hey, we didn't try this. So, and we didn't do it right. So that's what we did. And we started a business coaching company for fitness coaches. My brother is a beast. Like, shout out to my brother. Like, he literally found our first client in the sauna. And this was, and shout out to Max. He was awesome because this guy, he was like a trainer who helped UFC coaches or UFC fighters and amateurs and stuff like this. But he was actually a fitness coach. And what I learned working with him was, and I've actually learned it with a lot of other people, but I learned that, you really need to be specialized when you create something, because he was just a fitness coach. I helped him create a brand back then where it was like, now I'm helping amateurs go pro. And that's now a specialized field. And the thing is, like, Specialists, they are paid 30 times on average more than generalists. It's the same thing with a doctor. Like if you are, I use this example all the time. If you're a general doctor, you earn a certain amount of money. But now, if you're a specialist who is focused on, let's say, a very rare heart disease for kids or teenagers, something like that, then now, even if you're not the best in the world at it, you're in a very, very narrow field and you're earning 30 times more. So, this is the feedback I got from, not the feedback, one of the things that I learned from another mentor from afar was Sam Ovens, and that always stuck with me. Anyways, we built this company. Now COVID happens. In 30 days, imagine this, 30 days, and I've had a lot of sprints like this in my life, but on day one, we invent the name. What should it be called? We invent the name. We create the logo, day one. 30 days after, we made $100,000 in contracts, which was pretty awesome. We found it, and this again, the thing about living in Southeast Asia or other places in the world, we got a baller villa. This was for me at that standard, that time. Now I would never live there, but it had a pool. I had 2 rooms. It was a villa. Like, it was awesome, and I think we paid $800. Like, we got a fucking crazy offer on this. 800 bucks. So like, I was living a good life. I was eating good food with you, only spending $1,500 a month or something like that. But I was building the business. I was happy, and after 30 days, we had $100,000 in contracts. Holy shit! Now we go to the Philippines, another country that I've lived in, and also beautiful experience. But we're doing it. We're delivering amazing results to our clients. I'm happy. I'm building all these testimonials. But now COVID happens after some time. I'm moving in. I'm living in a good place. Like, I'm living at, it's called BGC, the area. Forbes 8 is the building. It's one of the best buildings in there in Manila. But now COVID happens. So we can't live there anymore. We downsize, and I had a rough, like everybody else have some rough months there. And then the Philippines was really in a serious fucking lockdown. Can't remember for how long, but I feel in my head like the lockdown was at least 1.5 years for me, like just staying inside apartments. You know, we couldn't really make it work. But then another friend of mine who reached out to me, or I reached out to him, that I've lived with, and that's why relationships are important. From the days, remember when I told you that I try to be a good friend? Now I ask, hey man, can I get some help here? And I actually helped him. He had a dating channel with 1 million followers, and I helped him create a program. And it was so good, this program, that we sold for about $1 million. This was with only 10 marketing days, and I had over 50% of that. So all of a sudden things started clicking, and since then, this was in 2021, things just went uphill. Boom, boom, boom. And to this day, now, we built Scandinavia's biggest trading coaching company. I'm involved with the biggest celebrity in my country for beauty and styling, who has worked with celebrities like Nicole Kidman, Nicki Minaj, the royal family in Denmark for 13 years, Tommy Hilfiger. He's an icon. All the actors and musicians in my country, for sure, but also there's so many. Literally, if you go through his biographies, you'll just see the list of people. Paris Hilton. Like, this is my partner now. We have a makeup line. We have a beauty program. Just for fun, I built a cigar lounge here with my girlfriend. Got some real estate. And most importantly, because I am not the one who flashes, this is probably going to change because, that's what people want on social media. And if we're going to go that direction, but like, I have legitimate freedom, because one thing I've learned by, doing business and meeting business owners is a lot of people make millions of dollars, but they are working all the time because they have to, or else things break down. One of the things with the trading coaching company is I learned how to build leaders. I learned how to build leaders and give freedom. Like, literally, if I didn't want to, the next 6 months, I don't have to do anything. Next year, I don't have to do anything. The next 2 years, and the business will still sustain or grow. Initiatives are being taken because I put so much effort into building leaders. So that's also one of the things that if people ask me for advice, this is something that I love talking about, because I had literally 20 years of working with people, doing a lot of failures, like being screwed over multiple times. And there's many times that I didn't mention here, but I guess I took the biggest highlights. So if I have to condense down my learning points, and if I have to go back in time 20 years ago and say, okay, because I had 7 dark years, like 7 really dark years, I would say from 23 to 30, I would say 31, 32 maybe. But like of course there was a couple of years of fun there, but like I would say they talk about the 10 dark years. I had at least 7 of those, like really dark years where you're struggling, you don't know when money is going to come in, you're living paycheck to paycheck, but it's not paycheck because it's you making it happen. There are days where you can't eat and you're fucking like in another country, you don't know how the fuck to make things happen. And here's the thing, you don't have anybody to call. You don't have a father you can call and ask. God bless him. He helped me a couple of times. And like at one time he gave me $200 and it was like life saving. So if I had to go back and tell myself, and I'm going to end with this, if I have to go back and give myself advice, it would be find somebody you can learn from, that you can follow their footsteps. And you need to be selective with the right people. But if there are any youngsters out there that would ask me, what should I do? Go and try some things, but make sure you're in the right company. Those people that you're following, they're not going to be perfect. Nobody's going to be perfect. There will be things that you would do different or in their personality, but that's not the thing. You want to look at their life. Do they understand life? Do they have their life set up in a way that is attractive and that all people want, in a sense? If they have that, you need to listen closely and you cannot filter their advice. It's like I heard Ty Lopez talk about this one point when I met him, and I agree to this advice. It's like when you're listening to somebody who doesn't have success in anything and they're talking and talking and talking. It's not that they're not coming with good advice sometimes, but it's like a bad radio station if you're driving in a car and it's like 80% of the time, but then you hear the song, like good tunes, 20%. Are you going to listen to that radio station or are you just going to tune it off because 80% of the time it's noise? You're going to tune it off. You're going to turn it off. You're going to be like, I'm not going to listen to that. So don't listen to the people who don't have what you want in life. You want to listen to the people. If you're $1 million a year in your business and you want to grow to $5 or $10 million, find somebody for sure who is exactly where you want to be and learn from them. Like there's no better hack. There's no better hack, but proximity. That's why like I invested a lot of money. I've invested hundreds of thousands of people just in learning because it's important. So if you have to pay $50,000, if you have to pay $100,000 and can afford it, if you have to pay $20,000, but you get real proximity where you can study behavior, you can study what they're doing with their marketing, you can study what they're doing with the delivery, you can study what they're doing with the leadership, it is worth it. It is fucking worth it if you find the right people. Because there's plenty of times where I've invested in people and it was scams or it was not good and it was a shit program, and usually the low ticket, 2,000, 5,000, like it's never really good. But even for free, if you can go and work for somebody and you go and say, listen, I'm going to work for you for free and just follow them for 2 years. Those 2 years, if you're following truly somebody who's successful in a field where you want to be successful, that is going to be the most formative years of your life, where you then can go and do things because you're going to avoid all the mistakes. Because the reason why I didn't achieve success faster is because I didn't have a blueprint. I tried blindly. And then you get a piece from a book and you get a piece from a podcast to keep you like on track. But it's so different when you have somebody looking over your shoulder. You can have these conversations with them, even if it's on a monthly or weekly basis. So that's the first piece of advice I would give myself. Number 2 I would give is like be good to people. Treat people good. Like that's another thing, because you like Richard Branson says in his books, like, and he built like 9 or 10 billion-dollar companies from scratch. It was a Guinness World Record at one time. Like the Virgin Airlines, he had Virgin Records, he has Virgin Mobile. There's all these things, all of them billion-dollar companies. And he says, business is just a group of people being organized. That's it. But you cannot be organized if people don't respect you, don't like you, you don't care about them, because that comes from that. You have to genuinely care about people. You have to, and of course you have to select the right people, but a lot of times you can take people who are not maybe great people, but they're good people. And I'm talking about like, in what they do, or just average, but you can get the best out of people if you also show them that you want the best out of them. So that's it. And then you work together as a unit. You have to understand people. You have to really know what their goals are and try to help them and support them and give them a platform for where they can be happy where they are now. So I think really understanding and caring about people would be the second thing. And if I should give a third um, advice to myself back then, it would be I did try a lot of things. So I wouldn't give that advice. I tried everything. But if somebody asks, should I try things? Just jump into it. A lot of people, I talked with a girl the other day, and she's young, she's 22, and she was like, she didn't want to go to school, she didn't want to go that route, but she wanted to do something, but she didn't know what exactly. And then it's this thing and that thing. I'm like, just try one thing out. Maybe it's not perfect in your mind with every angle. Because that's another mistake I did. It's like, oh, I need to think about, is it perfect? Do I like it? Am I good at it? Can I be successful? Just try it. Just jump in and fucking try it. That's it. But if I had to give one advice to myself, it would be to be more consistent on one thing, I would say. Be consistent, because experience accumulates. And if you're 10 years into something, even 5 years, you achieve mastery in something. And in this day and age, now, if you have mastery in something, then you are very, 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 very valuable. People want to connect with other people. They want to learn from other people. And you can literally, and this is what I do, I help people build coaching businesses when they come to me. I actually don't have anything to sell on it. But if people come to me, I do it, and we turn around businesses quickly. You know, if you're not making your first $100,000 in first month you're starting, you're doing something wrong, even if you have nothing. So it's like, again, goes back to the first advice. If you work with somebody from the beginning, when you're starting your business, if you want to start your business, that would be my advice. Get the right mentor on board, because it's going to save you tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, because of the opportunity cost. If you're doing things wrong for 3 years, what could you have versus if you did things right for 3 years? What's the difference, right? It's a lot. So if you want to get to a spot where you have a business, a service business, and you're making, $1 million a month, $500 to $1,000 a month, and you want it to be on autopilot, let's say you're only working 5 hours a week, because that's another thing that I learned within leadership is like, how do you actually set the frameworks for people? Because I used to like hire people and they never did a good enough job. I was always like, I have to do it. And I see a lot of business owners struggle with this because they're like, they are working so much because other people don't do it right. But there's a system to this. Business is very easy in the sense that it's science. It's like 1 + 1 is 2. It's really simple. And like, we're not taking people to Mars like Elon Musk. That's a hard thing. But building a coaching business that makes you a few $1,000,000 a year is, and I say this without arrogance, is very simple. It's not going to feel easy, but it's very simple if you know what to do. So anyways, this was my story. The story is still continuing. And I think, the most important thing for me, what I have learned for myself, is that life is worth it's only best if you are with people you love and care about. So try, I would say to myself also, try to like only do things with people you like and care about and love. I think that's one of the most beautiful things. Put yourself in a situation, because even if things doesn't work out, you have your people. And I think that would make, anybody's journey better. And the last one I would say to myself is just make sure you live life full out all the time. So with that said, I hope you got something out of it, and take care. Bye-bye.